Good evening or good afternoon. Greetings from a very sunny Islamabad, sitting here in Pakistan. First of all, I would like to thank Arnova and Sharik Siddiqui for giving this opportunity to Pakistan Center for Philanthropy in making a presentation on Muslim philanthropy data-driven research challenges. I'm also very grateful to be part of a very eminent panel here. I would like to thank Dr. David King, David Campbell, and Miera Negas, who are part of the panelists. I present as a member of this panel data challenges that we faced while we were conducting our national study on individual indigenous philanthropy in Pakistan. We successfully launched this study this year in February. It took us 2 years to complete. And I think a major challenge and a hurdle that we faced while collecting data was with regard to the high net worth individuals on reporting their giving, which I will talk more elaborately when I am at a point in my presentation. This study, I would like to acknowledge upfront, is the result of the philanthropic efforts of the individual philanthropy in Pakistan. The resources were committed by 15 organizations and individuals so that we could undertake this study. The study objectives, as have been laid out, I draw your attention to slide 2 of my presentation. We wanted to assess the volume of individual giving in Pakistan. We also wanted to know about the patterns and motivations of giving and how philanthropy what motivates people to give. We also wanted to look at from these motivations and areas where individuals give to draw some policy conclusions to improve the effectiveness and connectivity of philanthropy in Pakistan. I take you to slide 2 now. The research design, which we, while doing this study, was a mixed study design. We both looked at it from a qualitative and from a quantitative angle. Slide 4. From the quantitative side, we designed a cross-sectional household survey. The survey was done with 10,000 households. It was a representative sample from all the 4 provinces of Pakistan. We covered both the urban areas as well as the rural areas. We used a 2-stage stratified sampling and a probability proportional size to PPS. We also took into account primary sampling units for each province, secondary sampling units, households from each PSU also. We also, in this quantitative side, applied sampling weights to make it nationally, to make the data nationally representative. On the qualitative side, the study methodology involved doing 22 focus group discussions, and we included all the 4 provinces while we were doing these focus group discussions. We had 5 structured group discussions with civil society representatives and also with religious figures to take their view into account. The study also conducted 20 in-depth interviews with policymakers and policy implementers and the relevant stakeholders at the province level. Slide 6. We had earlier on conducted a study where we had looked at in the province of Sindh, and the survey instrument was adjusted slightly so that we could take into account the 3,000 households that we had sampled for that particular study. So in total, taking the household sample size to about 13,000 from a 10,000 size, so that we could add we do not have to revisit Sindh province again. And on the sampling in Balochistan, the security situation was not very stable, so we had to miss out on some primary sampling units. And as I said earlier, high net worth individuals are strongly underrepresented due to their unwillingness to report and publicize their donations. When we talked to these high net worth individuals, they were very reluctant to report on their giving. I suppose the reasons that could be attributed are attributions of religion, because Islam says when you give from one hand, the other does not know. Although these high net worth individuals are contributing huge amounts of money, and not only just resources in forms of money, but in kind also, in technical assistance also, in taking it to different sectors and working in different provinces, but they were very, very reluctant to report on their giving. Hence, I can safely say that when we report on a number for Pakistanis individual giving in Pakistan to be 240 billion PKR annually, I would say it is an underestimate. I believe if we capture the data rightly on high net worth individuals, this giving would exponentially increase. In my slide 7, I take you to major findings where I talk about magnitude of giving by provinces. So one number that comes out in totality when we give it as a volume of giving in Pakistan is rupees 240 billion annually. This shows the generosity of the people, and it shows that Pakistanis are basically giving people. And highest number of giving was recorded in the province of Punjab, that is 113 billion. Secondly, in Sindh, that is 78 billion. In KPK, 38 billion, and in Balochistan, 10 billion. Slide 8, I take you to part 2 of the major findings, where I talk about magnitude of giving by type. When we were looking at different forms of giving, we not only looked at monetary and non-zakat, but also zakat, in kind, time, ushar, hides, and shrine. I highlight 2 major findings here. If you look at monetary non-zakat, that is 30% of the total volume of giving that we have identified. And then importantly, time. I mean, we never imagine people volunteering time, but time comes out as 34% of the total volume of giving in Pakistan. And another interesting finding is of zakat, which contributes around 11%. Slide 9 talks of major findings, magnitude by giving, by type, and by province. Again, if we see for Punjab, monetary giving is the highest, which is in time 39.3 million. And as opposed in Sindh, the number on giving is highest while contributing in time, which is 48.6 million. Similarly, and the monetary giving in Sindh is relatively less what is being given in Punjab. Similarly, for our 2 other provinces, KPK and Balochistan, the in-time giving for both KPK and Balochistan is 13 million and 3.1 million respectively. We believe that one reason why in-time giving is high in these provinces is because the socio-economic indicators show that people are not do not have enough resources to give in kind, so they give in time. Whereas for Punjab, the monetary giving is at 39.3% is because Punjab is one of our most prosperous and economic provinces, and where the economic indicators are better. So where people are not actually giving more in time, but more in through their funds and through their resources and through the monetary form of giving. So major findings, the 4th major finding, slide 10. The finding is not very unusual. It does not surprise us at all, and I think it is in keeping also with national and international trends. That is 98% of Pakistanis give. So almost majority of give at most of the time, for whatever reason, to one or the other causes or causes closest to their heart, whether they give in rural areas or in urban areas, whether they give thematically, or whether they give in one form or the other, but they do give. And I would like to make a comparison here with the 1998 study that we did, which reported that Pakistanis at that particular time were giving 70 billion PKR. And if I look today from the recent study, the giving has grown to 240 billion. Actually, philanthropy presently contributes 0.9% to Pakistan's GDP. And this is, I'm not including here the corporate giving, I'm not including here the other forms of giving. There is a safe estimate that if we really look at different forms of giving which are beyond, which were not looked at in this particular study and which were beyond the scope, if we do a holistic picture of total giving in all forms of giving in Pakistan, the number percentage to GDP is likely to be around 1.5% of Pakistan GDP, which given Pakistan's situation, the security threats that we face, shows that people have their hearts at the right places and they do intend and they do contribute in giving back to society. Well, we also looked at in the study who were the major recipients of philanthropy. So 67% of the households were giving to individuals. 30% were giving both to individuals and to organizations. But only 3% of the respondents said that they were giving to organizations. Now, these 60% of the individuals, when they gave to both needy, to relatives, to disabled, and to beggars. And the 3% which were 3% of the respondents said that they gave to mosques, madrasas, and of that 3%, a very small number actually were giving to a civil society organization, which I believe is not a very unusual finding. This is what we naturally see because of the trust and the credibility gap that exists between the people and the civil society organizations in general. 30% of the respondents which were giving to both the organizations and to individuals were also contributing to mosques, madrasas, and CSOs also. Motivations for giving, again not surprising, faith-based giving, religion-based giving. Again, the 98% of the 98% of Pakistanis which were giving, 95% were giving because of religious reason. But not far behind was compassion, and not far behind is the need observed. Again, which tells that Pakistanis are generous, are cognizant, would like to contribute, and know and have their heart at the right places. And 42% actually gave because they had more and they would like to share it with others who don't have that much. So religion at the end comes out as the biggest motivator for giving and contributing back to charity, to welfare, and to give to the needy. When we were looking at, I bring you to slide number 13, when we were looking at major findings of public policy implications, what came out very strongly was that Pakistanis are not aware of local philanthropic organizations. I believe it's a case of providing choices, and that's where policy needs to look at that to provide people not only choices but also tools, mechanisms, conduits where people can connect with those organizations and believe those organizations to be credible and trustworthy for them to give. Secondly, the finding which has a policy implication for the policymakers in Pakistan is that the civil society organizations want an enabling environment, an environment where they have enablers to work and contribute to the charitable areas and to the welfarist approaches that they are taking. And one thing that came out from the CSOs was that they were not really aware of the tax benefits that were available to them in terms of receiving charity money or donations, etc. So I think there is need to inform and to educate the civil society organizations of the tax implications when they collect donations and the tax benefits that would accrue to them for doing the charity work in Pakistan. Last, in my slide 14, I bring you to recommendations and way forward. So I think this would be in line and in keeping with the international and the global trends that are visible today. We found out that there was a need to tap philanthropy resources to achieve SDGs. Here we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals as a national and an international commitment by the government of Pakistan, and where philanthropy and Goal 17, that is forging partnerships with the businesses, private sector, civil society and government, can actually help leverage these resources for meeting the social developments and inequity gaps in Pakistan. Third recommendation was for local philanthropy for local needs, where communities should be involved in saying where this money should be spent and in identifying the needs where this money was required. Thirdly, information on trustworthy and credible, effective not-for-profits has also come forward as a recommendation, where I think already PCP is playing an important role through its credibility attributing mechanism of certification. I think the need is for us to inform people more on which organizations are credible and trustworthy, and to whom to give and where to give. Secondly, building awareness of CSOs on tax benefits of effective philanthropy was another way forward to encourage the philanthropy and the civil society sector in Pakistan. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and I would like to again acknowledge here for the third time in slide 15 our limitations or the data-driven, for a data-driven research, some limitations where you are not able to capture data really hampers the number and the outputs of the study, and where again I would like to highlight our challenge and our weakness and the gap area where we could not really make headway was in reaching out to the high net worth individuals, in capturing that their giving for the benefit of this society, and hence I repeat that this number that we show is an underestimate. I believe PCP we do these studies every 10 years decennially. So the next study, and whoever is sitting here in my place, would certainly take into account that the ways and means to rectify this particular gap in the next study are bridged, and that we are able to capture this data and reporting on philanthropic giving in Pakistan. Thank you so much. Again, I share with you the people and the individuals who made this study possible. I thank all the panelists, and I wish everybody a good conference with good results and outputs. And thank you, Sharik, and thank you, Arnova, once again for giving us this opportunity to present our data challenges that we faced while conducting our national study on individual indigenous philanthropy in Pakistan. Best of luck. Thank you.